Hi there, greetings from London. My name is Frank Baldwin and I'm the historian guide for the Easy Company Pre-Tour. When you cross Europe in the footsteps of Band of Brothers, you're investigating the legendary actions of a small company of men. In this video, I'm using an exhibit from the Imperial War Museum to tell a story of another small unit from the First World War. The Imperial War Museum Kennington describes itself as the world's leading museum of conflict and war. The main hall contains selected objects, aircraft, rockets, tanks, and among them is a rather old-fashioned looking gun. Pulled by horses, it would not have looked out of place on the battlefield of the American Civil War. However, this gun from 1914 would have been like a death ray to the armies of Grant or Lee. On closer inspection, we can see that the gun itself has been damaged. The spokes of the wheels are missing, and in fact this has actually taken a hit on the barrel itself. So what happened and why is it here? In the early hours of the 1st of September 1914, this gun was one of 6 of L Battery Royal Horse Artillery, part of the cavalry force covering the withdrawal of the British Army. The cavalry bivouacked or camped for the night in the village of Nery with the guns of L Battery in a field roughly the size of a football field. Here were about 150 men and 150 horses. They had been ready to move for 2 hours, and the horses were being led off to be watered before the day's march. It was very, very misty. But there was one thing very wrong. The high ground across the valley was not occupied by the French or other British, as the British had thought, but by the Germans. Around 5:30 the mist cleared. 12 German field guns and 4 machine guns less than half a mile away opened fire. L Battery was a perfect target. German shrapnel, shell splinters and machine gun bullets mutilated men and horses. The battery commander was knocked unconscious by the opening shots. Panicking horses overturned one of the guns. Captain Edward Bradbury, the battery captain, what the Americans might call the executive officer, shouted, "Come on, who's for the guns?" And he, other officers and men raced to get guns into position. Guns were damaged as horses bolted in panic. Only 3 can be unlimbered and manhandled into action, and one of these soon had its spokes blown out while the second was hit and its whole detachment killed. Gunner Derbyshire jumped into the laying seat of one gun. He told the press afterwards, "The gun's been ready for marching, not fighting. They could manage 15 rounds a minute. We weren't doing that, but we were doing okay." He fired for about 20 minutes until concussion from incoming and outgoing rounds left him bleeding from the nose and ears. He then went off to carry ammunition. Several officers and men kept the gun in action. Captain Bradbury had his leg blown off. Sergeant Major Dorrell took over command, and with the dead and dying around them, he and Sergeant Nelson kept firing until the last shots were brought up by Gunner Derbyshire and Driver Osborne. After the gun had fallen silent, reinforcements came up to turn the tide. The German guns had largely been put out of action by the lone battery gun and by rifle and machine gun fire from the cavalrymen in the village itself. Eventually, 8 German field guns and 2 machine guns were captured. Captain Bradbury, Sergeant Major Dorrell and Sergeant Nelson were all awarded the Victoria Cross, the highest decoration for gallantry under fire. The Victoria Crosses are on display in the Ashcroft Gallery at the top floor of this museum. Derbyshire and Osborne were awarded the French Medal Militaire. Of these men, only Dorrell survived the First World War. L Battery were re-equipped and brought up to strength, and over the next 4 years served in Gallipoli, in Turkey, France and Belgium. There were 2 more occasions in the First World War and 1 in the Second World War when L Battery faced machine guns over open sights. During the Second World War, L Battery was at Dunkirk, Greece, North Africa and Italy. After the Second World War, its soldiers served in Malaya, Cyprus and Northern Ireland, Iraq and Afghanistan. In the 1980s, it was in Germany as part of the British Army of the Rhine, and in 1985, I had the privilege to command a troop in L Battery named after Sergeant Major Dorrell. L Battery were awarded the honour title of Nery and are officially L Nery Battery Royal Horse Artillery. On the 1st of September, the anniversary of the battle, the director of the Imperial War Museum and a representative from the Royal Artillery lay wreaths on the Nery Gun. The 1st of September is a battery day within the battery itself, and usually a good excuse for a party. The French village of Nery has hosted return visits on the major anniversaries, most recently at the centenary of the action in 2014. L Battery's story is one of a family, made up of bands of brothers from different generations bound by links of continuous service. It's part of the British Army's regimental system. We're very proud that it's our gun that sits in the entrance to the main hall of the Imperial War Museum. A reminder of how L Battery, when called on to do so, did the right thing on a very difficult day. It's an inspiration and an example and a matter of pride, not just to L Battery, but to the artillery and the wider army. Every army and service has examples of the actions for which they're most proud. The US Army of World War II expanded so much that tradition was irrelevant. And in Easy Company's case, the parachute is a completely new concept. However, I'm sure that members of the modern 101st and the US Army as a whole are just as proud of the gallant deeds of the World War II Screaming Eagles as we are of L Battery.